Hi, and welcome to Fil-Am Creatives podcast, Voices. And my co-host today is, my co-host in general is going to be Arlyn de la Pena.
Howdy.
I am Walter Talens, and we're both filmmakers, and we're all members of Fil-Am Creative. We are a organization that our main goal is to broaden and promote the voices of Filipino-American creatives. And how do you interpret Fil-Am Creative?
Well, it's definitely a very family-oriented group. We are creating a platform for diversity in Hollywood. We need to let our presence be known. And so through Fil-Am Creative, we're able to kind of help capture the different diversity of folks and the different talents that they have, and to help showcase them and get them connected.
And you guys might be wondering, what are we doing here as hosts? Well, as members of Fil-Am Creative, I'm the vice president of Fil-Am Creative, and I'm also a camera person. I'm a filmmaker, act, and Arlyn over here is an actress, aside from looking like a model. She is, tell us
trying to get some brownie points here.
You know it, always. Tell everyone what else you do in this world.
I'm quite the ninja, just saying. I'm definitely doing a lot more producing, and I've dabbed a little bit in directing as well. Ooh. But, acting is my passion, so I love that. Just gaining different skills and meeting more people and helping each other make their dreams come true. And
okay,
yeah.
And I mean, you're starting in this game, not like an 18-year-old college student, film student. Because you had a career before.
Are you
right?
trying to date me?
No. But what was your career? You had a really interesting career before we.
Yes. So I pretty much did what my parents told me to do. So I became a registered nurse, and I joined the military. And so I was in the Army for 9 years, active duty, and then I was in this freak accident that. It involved fire and water, and I had to relearn to walk. That happened right before I got out. And so I kind of had, this transition period of what am I going to do, since I can't exactly go back to what I was doing right away.
Okay.
And so I figured, well, if I'm going to be in LA, I might as well, just check out the industry and check out entertainment, and I could never look back. This has been the best decision I've ever made. So
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can be a producer and you could be the set medic too.
Always, guys, always. My background's burn trauma ICU. Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes, but we have that military part in common too. So, yeah. Why don't you tell us about your military experience?
Well, yeah. Again, I'm also a military veteran, and I was a combat cameraman or public affairs for the U.S. Army and U.S. Army Reserves. I don't know if people don't know. We're basically, the combat cameraman's the guy who, when you guys watch World War II documentaries and the guy's recording the firefights and all that stuff.
That's dangerous.
Those are our friends. Yeah, but I was that kid watching those documentaries. And I'm like, that's cool. How can I do that? And then the first time I got deployed to Iraq, I met one of those guys, and I'm like, "Oh, that's a real thing. How can I do that?" And he told me all about it. And a few years later, I changed my job to be a combat correspondent, and it's been the greatest decision in my Army career. I personally believe. Like, I never thought that I'd be like, 1 minute I'd be, 1 year I'm in like, doing patrols with infantry guys, doing combat stuff, recording firefights. The following year, I'm recording the Academy Awards, like doing red carpet stuff for American Forces Network. That was awesome.
I watched that network. Oh my gosh, when I was deployed, I watched that network.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, like, even when I was deployed or even back home, like, and I have friends active duty, like, emailing me or messaging me on Facebook, and they're like, hey, I just saw you, or I just heard your voice.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Or they're like in the chow hall.
Oh my God, I probably heard your voice like way back, like when I deployed.
Before you knew.
Yeah, before we met, like just last year actually, and Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy because, okay, so for those of you who don't know what happens when you deploy, I mean, like you're kind of like either at work or you're at the gym or you're in the cafeteria, and that's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. And so the only place that we had TV where I was deployed to was the gym.
Yeah.
And so like I spent like hours and hours just like catching up, running, and like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, it was like probably one of the it's just such a fun and just busy job in the U.S. Army, I feel like it, or in the military period.
Yeah, that's a rare position to actually have, because I know some public affairs officers, and I meet some of the folks on staff, and it's so different than what you ever expect it to be.
Yeah, and I mean it's a great. I don't even know. It's hard for me to even like explain the experience to my like fellow service members, much less to people not in the military even.
Yeah.
Because we're like the 1% of the branch. You know?
Like so. Wait. So you still had to carry on all the same gear, weapons.
Yeah.
And a camera.
Yeah.
Dang.
So we had all our.
Wait.
Gear.
So was like your equipment durable, or? I mean, I imagine it would be, but that's sensitive items, right?
Yeah. I mean, you just learn how to take care of it. Like some people were better at it than others. I knew how to take care of my camera equipment. I love my camera.
He's a lover, not a fighter, guys. Yeah, lover, not a fighter.
And yeah, and then like, do you have any social media page, by the way, that you wanna like?
Oh snap, we're going there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, I have. My IG is at Arlyn_de la and what's yours?
You guys can follow me at man of tales, man_of_tales on IG. Yeah, and it's totally a random Instagram like page.
I like it.
It's just, yeah. People are like, you should have a theme. I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I don't do themes. You will just see, like, my latest photo has been like, it was a photo of me on set, and like people don't even believe it's me. The one that I posted.
Really? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one.
I got to play an indigenous woman, so I looked very different than my normal self, which I love that. I prefer, kind of being like the unique character, right? I don't need to be all glammed up and beauty queened out or any of that jazz.
And I mean, speaking of unique characters, I think we should explain to people why we have this empty seat between us. Because today we are going to be meeting with a very well-known, albeit like, well-known and unknown Filipino-American radio personality, Manny Streetz. He is a LA radio host, a TV personality. He's also in film. And Manny Streetz, a.k.a. Manny Guevara, is a guy that's known he's on KIIS-FM. And for the longest time, no one knew he was Filipino. And so we're going to bring him in, and we're going to talk to him for a little bit and let him know, or have him tell us about like his experience on the radio, his film career, and how it is representing as a Filipino-American in entertainment and radio.
Yeah, if you guys have not looked up Manny Streetz, oh my gosh, his resume is like so robust. It's super impressive. And just, kind of chatting with him a little bit earlier, just closing your eyes and listening to him, you're like, I know that voice. Yeah. I so know that voice. And to see him in person, it's crazy. It's amazing. So, yep, let's get Manny out here and let's start this interview.
Today's episode brought to you by the good folks at Filipino Worker Center. From the heart of historic Filipino town, PWC focuses on providing programs that help meet the immediate needs of workers. Our thanks to PWC for letting us shoot at their wonderful facility. And now, on to our guest, Manny Streetz.
And welcome back to Fil-Am Creatives podcast, Voices. Today we have Manny Streetz, a.k.a. Manny Guevara.
Yeah, you said it right.
Oh, yes. I'm always scared that I'm going to be like
Point one for
Walter.
You did good. You did
no
good.
No relations, though, right? And he is a radio, TV, and film personality. And he is doing big things. And you're even a musician, aren't you?
Yeah, I write songs and produce songs.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
very
we'll
little.
get
I
into
don't think
that.
So
too many people
Filipino.
know that enough.
You know, Filipinos,
Great.
we do everything.
Dude, so true. It's so true.
It
It's true
is.
though.
Yeah.
It is.
You know, it's true.
Yeah,
And it's only natural that we're in entertainment. Like,
that's right. That's right.
and I mean, you for the longest, like, I mean, it's great to see you, man. Like, it's been
You
a
too, man.
while. Last time I saw you, we were doing the photo shoot,
Yeah.
right?
We took pictures
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
in front
yeah.
of bushes.
That sounds bad, dude. That sounds bad. No.
Really?
No, it wasn't like that, guys. It
Wait,
wasn't
wait,
like
wait,
that.
wait. I need to hear a little bit more about these bushes.
No, he was supporting the Fil-Am
Yeah.
Creative T-shirts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was the
So-
first model.
Oh
Yes, he
my. Oh,
That's
handsome.
like a lot of firsts. He was our first model.
See, you can
Dude.
count on me, guys. You can count on me.
Manny Streetz is
That's
a
Reliable.
right. That's right.
reliable and a big supporter of Fil-Am Creative.
Always.
And again, we thank you very much for being our first guest
Yeah, of
on
course.
our
Yeah,
show.
very
Anytime.
first. Our
Anytime.
very first.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, you've been so supportive. Like, yeah, we were NoHo, or I guess we were somewhere
Yeah.
in NoHo.
In front of like an apartment building, and like cars
yeah, we
are
just found like we
going
just
in,
ran
we're
a
like-
spot and like we're like, yeah, this like bushes, like a wall.
Wait,
of
can I see a
bushes.
pose? Can I see a pose real quick?
Yeah, it was like, it was weird.
Well, I'm sure we'll just slide it in. We'll like
It was weird.
we'll have the
It was
photo
weird.
flash
Okay.
in. Somewhere.
Walter was like, "Hey, turn around over there. All right, now turn your head like this." I was like, "What are we doing, Walter? It's supposed to be just the shirt, right?"
Interesting.
Now
You
put
know,
that hips
Walter.
back. Arch
Walter,
that
we're,
back.
we're supposed to do our photo shoot too at some point. We've
yeah.
been talking about this since like summertime. But
Yeah.
So I guess I'll prepare my.
There you go.
Over
There
the
you go. Over the
Over
shoulder.
the
look.
shoulder look.
That's right.
You
That's right.
gotta arch that back. Gotta do some back
So
work.
prior to being a model
Oh,
for
jeez.
Fil-Am Creative
my gosh.
shirts, how did you start off? Like, what was your inclination? And at what point in your life were you like, this is what I want to do?
It must have been when I was born in Japan. So in Japan, we did have like American cultures or whatever, right? Michael Jackson was, of course, the biggest at the time, the Jackson 5 or whatever. So I wanted to be Filipino Michael Jackson. So when we moved to the States in Key West, Florida, boom, I want to go get the glove. I want to get the red jacket. Never got those, Mom. But I still wanted to be Michael Jackson. So I had to been probably 10 years old, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 or 12
And
years
what
old.
were you doing? What was your family doing in Japan?
My dad was in the military, so he served for the
Oh,
military.
snap. You're surrounded now, fool.
That's right. That's right. We're military brats.
Was he Army or Navy?
Navy.
Of
Oh,
course.
Yeah.
cool. Rodney, shout out to Rodney out there. Navy. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went from Japan to Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and then from Florida, where did you go?
And then Jacksonville, we ended up in Jacksonville. So I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And then from Jacksonville, Florida, I was in a boy band, and I moved to Atlanta.
Can we get an insert pics real quick?
It's somewhere online. It was in the era of like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Oh my God, that's
So I
awesome.
always wanted to be in a boy band, and I got it, and I signed to a record label. And then we performed at the Olympics, like not the actual Olympics, but it's like the outside village.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of disbanded, and I went to audition for a movie, an independent film. It's a horror film. It's online also on YouTube. It's called Oliver Twisted, and I had this long hair. But I auditioned for it, and it filmed in Orlando, so I moved back to Orlando. I also went to school in between those times. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
So you went to like, how old were you at this time? Like high school or college age?
like right after high school. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
17, 18, 19.
Oh, so did you? What university did you go?
I went to Valencia
Oh,
in Orlando.
Nice.
Yeah.
But were you studying acting back then?
I was
radio?
studying whatever I can get my hands into.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
But at that point, did you know you were like, I'm gonna get into radio eventually, or you kind of?
Oh, you know
into
what?
it?
Radio. My friend was working in radio out in LA, so I said, "Dude, I want to work in radio because it was fun." He was in the clubs, getting VIP. I was like, "I want that job." He goes, "Dude, come on by." So the next week I applied, and I'm in radio. So I've been in radio for a long time.
So what was
Nice.
like your audition like?
Oh,
Trying
my
to
gosh.
break into the radio.
Now we're getting into
industry.
it.
Yeah.
Hold on, it's getting hot in here.
You know, because I always like somebody who's like not in radio.
Yeah.
I would be terrified, to go audition for a radio show. And
I guess I didn't really audition because somebody was just like, Manny, you're always out and about. You're on the streets. So JoJo on the radio, actually, what up, JoJo? Gave me a little shout out and was like, hey, you're out there on the streets. You're out there in the parties. Give me a call on the radio. So I did that for like every weekend, every Thursday, Friday. And I would call in the evening, and I would be at a party with like Britney Spears or NSYNC or, boom. And Britney and Justin Timberlake were my first interviews. And ever since then, JoJo just kept on having me call. So so I did that for a while, and then I guess in the morning show, needed somebody to kind of fill in the gap to do some giveaways and, of course, do some interviews or whatever. So Ryan was like, yo, can you come in? So I did JoJo at night and then Ryan in the morning.
Yeah.
Dang, that hustle is strong. Oh, man. I love it. That's
so
a great
strong. So strong. I'm hot over here. The lights are.
The power is
man. I'm layered.
You're like, I mean, it is cold outside.
We're finally experiencing winter in LA. So I mean, like we're so spoiled. Like we're
50 degrees is
50
winter
degrees
in LA.
is like so cold now.
Gosh, that's so good.
I mean, you're from Florida too. This is winter for you too.
No, Florida, I don't like the weather.
It's like,
I like the coldness.
Florida in the summer, I'm figuring is like Philippines, I guess.
Yeah, muggy.
Yep.
Yeah,
super muggy.
hot and humid.
Hot.
One of my favorites, like memories, like I was listening to JoJo on the radio, and you were on it, and I think you were doing. I still remember it for some reason.
Oh no, is it bad?
Yeah, you're in UCLA, like you're doing stuff with statues.
Keep it clean, guys. Keep it clean.
Do you remember this one? You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Oh no.
I was driving, and I just. It was on the radio, but it was funny as hell because like people.
I was humping it.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but hey.
Was I humping statues?
So,
Oh my gosh. Where's my mom at?
And it was. I just remember it was hilarious.
Comes with a
like,
job. You know,
Yeah,
comes with a job.
like you were just describing, like, okay, I think security's coming.
Security's always coming, guys.
No, yeah, I was like, and that's why you got Manny. That's where the Manny Streetz came from,
Yes,
right? Because
yes.
you're always on the streets, and you're the street team.
Yeah.
Coming from Florida, did you? How did you always? What was the reputation of DJs or radio here in California? Because back then, like in the 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s.
That was like hot import nights times and like DJ
Hey, now, what are you trying to
Same
say
thing,
about how
same
import
thing.
nights?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do it?
I was there.
Oh,
All I can say, I was
Watch out. She's probably on the
I
cover.
just looking at cars.
Kind of leaning
I
on
was
it a
just
few
looking
times.
at cars. Yeah, my first hot import nights was actually the one in LA.
Pomona?
No, I'm pretty sure it was. I felt like we came into LA.
She's from Texas, so
Oh.
for her, any of that's all LA.
Right.
For most
The hell, I mean, it's true. It's true.
Everything's LA.
For everyone
true.
from out of town, they're just like,
Listen,
oh,
I
it's
was
LA.
like 19. I mean, I don't remember these things. I just
Okay.
got in a car. We just drove somewhere.
So that was like 5 years ago then.
Oh, you're
There
so
you
kind.
go.
You're
Walter's
so kind.
nice. Walter's nice. He ages me, but he's nice to you.
Hey,
You know, Walter Talens is like really 50 years
I'm
old.
like 50 years
I
old.
know.
Yeah.
But you still look 25. That Filipino jeans.
Jeans, man.
Love it.
It's all that adobo.
There you go. See, I tell my wife all the time, the food keeps you young. And when
Right?
you're in LA, you're younger.
It's literally the preservatives in
That's
Filipino
it.
food.
That's
That's
it.
like
It's all that oil. It's all that oil.
It just
Nice
it
nice
just
skin.
layers, yeah, prevents you from
That's
wrinkling.
right. I'm with it.
Tell us about like any upcoming projects that you might have, like because you're seriously been getting into acting too.
Yeah,
right?
I did some music with a couple of my producer friends. I did some music for animated films.
Oh, cool.
And those are hopefully going to come out at the end of this year or beginning of next year because animation, you gotta
Takes a while.
takes a while
Yeah.
to edit and reshoot or redo some voices ADR work.
It's a
or whatever.
feature?
It's a feature film. It's 2 feature films.
Oh, cool.
One of them stars. Oh my gosh, I hope I get it right. Well, Wilmer Valderrama's in one of them. Oh, the other one is Demi Lovato.
Oh, cool.
Oh wow.
Wilmer Valderrama, and then the next movie after that is oh my gosh, why am I blanking? The other movie stars also Wilmer Valderrama, Lucy Hale. from Disney or from Pretty Little Liars. So did music for that, and then I'm a voice in another animated film, and then I just shot another film. Oh my gosh, all these films! I love it. I wish we had a release date. We don't have any release dates yet, so that's what we're waiting for.
Can you say the title or
the title for the film that we just finished last week is called Devil in IT. Yeah, and it's directed and produced by the same lady who produced the movie The Duff. It talks about it's like fraud.
Oh.
Yeah, someone stole someone else's
identity theft.
Yeah, identity theft, and fell in love with this girl, and he became basically not the devil, and so to speak, but it's more like the guy that was kind of a stalker.
We all have demons inside, right?
Yes.
No, that's really cool. So it's like a since she did Duff, the Duff, it's kind of like a teen rom-com kind of thing.
I get if there's killers in the movie, is that rom-com? No, not really. What is that? Mystery?
Mystery, I guess.
Thriller.
Yeah.
Romantic thriller.
Teen romantic thriller.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah. So we're hoping
You sicko. I'm just kidding.
So we're hoping it's like Hallmark Channel or a Lifetime. We haven't
Cool.
got the release date or what channel it's gonna be on, or maybe it'll just release on DVD. We have no idea.
How do you like doing, voiceovers in comparison to, being on camera, acting?
I like it. I like it all.
Because it's so different, right?
Yeah, everything's different, but it all goes hand in hand at the same time. Because even when I'm doing a voiceover for a movie or whatever, I still have to be animated. If I'm a cartoon character, I have to be animated. That's just, I don't know.
Yeah, because the inflection in your voice is still there when you're like moving around doing
Right.
action.
Right.
But you can dress up in regular clothes.
Yeah. You don't have to.
You don't have to dress
So
up.
you're saying
get
I can wear
makeup.
my tracksuit, huh?
That's right.
Every day.
Tracksuits all day, 24/7. Except when they do behind the scenes shots.
But they give you a heads up
Dang.
before that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Where's makeup for my behind the scenes?
Exactly.
Now for people who are listening and watching this, like how does one even get into this, or at least for you and your
Get into what?
whether it's acting or voice?
I guess after being in the industry for so long, you make friends. Friends will tell you, oh, there's an audition for this, or they'll give you a lead to somebody else, one of their friends who's doing a movie, or needs some music for something or whatever. So I guess it goes all hand in hand. It's six degrees of separation, I guess, right?
Okay.
Or you can take classes from a notable casting director, and that's how you get it. Or make your own reels, right?
Make your own
Would you
content.
say that the Filipino-American people in the industry, is that a big group of people, a small group of people? How would you quantify
What do you
that?
mean? What was your
As far
question?
as like people that, who are working within the industry, Filipino-Americans, how big of a population do you think that is?
It's
Or
not
from
that
what you've
big.
seen.
From what I've seen, I mean, you know almost every Filipino who's in the industry in terms of trying to work or getting work or are working.
Yeah.
From everybody from Walter and Arlyn.
Hey.
Dante Bosco, the Bosco brothers been there for a while.
Yeah.
You just know everybody, because you run into them at auditions because there's only one role for Filipinos and you got 50 Filipinos in the room.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Auditioning for the same role.
You see the same
girl
folks.
or guy, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
You
see the same folks.
you make friends, and I think what I love about it is we support each other. So whoever gets it, we still love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, a win for Filipino-Americans, out there is a win for all of us, is what I feel. So
Right.
that's great.
Right.
It's good to see that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
But there's this there's this one, like, even for Asian Americans, like there's one Asian that a couple Asian Americans that just be killing it in commercials. I'm not gonna say his name.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But it's almost like I've talked to friends who's like, when he walks into the audition,
the guy with the glasses?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Now I want to know.
It's
We
just-
all want to know.
it's just hilarious because
I
like,
see him all the time, and he always gets it.
when you guys
Whenever I see him in the waiting room, I walk in and I see him. I'm like, they're gonna get him. I don't even know
what
why.
I'm talking
I don't even know why they called me in.
Oh my gosh!
My
now I totally
headshot
wanna
does not even look
see.
like him, and they're gonna cast him anyway.
that sentiment right
Right?
there, has been echoed to me by other.
All
like,
the time.
I've never been in
Really?
an audition with
Hey,
him.
kudos
like,
to him.
yeah, he's killing.
We
it.
support you.
Yeah,
You know who you are.
we know who you are.
But yeah, like when he walks in, people are just. And I think I've told him this in person.
Yeah.
Like I've seen him in. I saw him collaboration last year, or I told him I joked around, but he was just like. But people have said that. It's like, oh, when he walks in, I'm just like, I probably should just go home right now.
You know, and what's funny is I always ran into Randall Park all the time, like at auditions, who's now on Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah.
You know, and then he got fresh off the boat. I'm like, dude, I saw that guy just like last week auditioning for a commercial. I'm like, oh, man, forget it.
And I feel like, I mean, you're doing the very same thing that Randall Park did back then, just hustling. Like, Randall Park hustled so much coming
He
up.
still did stand-up comedy, you know. He's
Wilding out,
Wilding
you know?
out, you
like,
know.
and you're doing the very same thing. Like, you're constantly, you're just producing content. You're getting out
Well,
there.
I think the key for anybody, in Filipinos included, is to do multiple streams of whatever it is you want to do, whether it be entertainment or maybe you want to be a basketball player. You go into all these different leagues. So that's how I see it, right? You want to be the best basketball player. They're always going to be playing basketball almost every day. Now, if you want to be somebody in entertainment, you want to be a brand, you got to work on things that are going to be you.
Branding's huge.
Branding's huge.
It's so big.
Because that's, at the end of the day, if you are a great actor or actress and you go in and you kill it and the producers love you, but then this other person comes in and they're okay, but they have the numbers.
Right.
They're getting the guy with the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I can't tell
just-
you like how many things like I've auditioned for. And one of the questions that they always ask is like, you know, how big is your social media and,
That's
you know, all
key
these
now.
things. And,
Yeah.
you know,
because production
big.
companies want to find out what can they get out of the actor more
right.
than just the acting.
Yeah. The marketing part is big.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then because that brings a whole different, because I was at listening to another panel, they were talking about that, and some casting directors just hate that too, or agents hate that too.
Yeah.
And I get the pros and cons for both of that, but like it gets into the fact that like you as an actor, then what do you start doing
Right.
to try to get that
Right.
audience? Do you pull a, you know, he that shall not be named, like act that he did in Japan kind of thing, or, you know, like what crazy stuff do you do just to get these
Well, I think if you're really great at your craft, like that speaks for
Yeah.
itself.
Right.
And I think the people who legit want quality over quantity,
Yeah.
they're gonna go
gonna
with
get
the
you.
better
Yeah.
actor.
Correct.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Because like, dude, I know some people, they have like seriously like
They have none.
like
They have
like hundreds and thousands of like, you know, like these bots and stuff following
Yeah.
them. I mean like
Now you can buy them.
yeah. I mean it's crazy. Like it's a little ridiculous. Like
giving
We'll just all buy ours.
I mean most
it's all,
I think
it's all me and your mama.
I think, well, I mean, kind of, because a lot of the farms are in the Philippines too.
Right.
I don't know
I
if you
know.
guys knew that.
Right?
It's
Yeah,
either
I
in
believe
Philippines,
it.
or India.
Yeah,
That's
I read
true.
an article that literally $1,000 will get you, you know,
10,000 followers.
yeah, just like that. And and I know some people like who have that, and I'm just like, but it's not. It's all a facade.
It's all a
you know.
facade.
I
It's
think
entertainment.
Right. I think if you go to that great lengths, you're making up for something else, right?
Sure.
So
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, because, and if you haven't worked on your craft or your skill or your talent, but you just focused on getting your followers just to get to that point, and then you do get the opportunity,
Yeah.
and you get there and you cannot deliver.
You can't deliver.
You just wasted your time. You wasted their time.
You wasted your money.
and money,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
still have nothing to show
Wah,
for it.
wah.
Yeah.
But I will always say that the right person for your career and your journey will always come your way at the right time, at your time. Not
Amen to that.
And I'm not just saying that as a cliche kind of thing. It's really when your time is ready, the right person's gonna say, I got you, Arlyn. I got you, Walter. I got you, Manny.
Dude, that's so true.
That's just how it is.
That is so true.
But people always look at it, so and so just got this. Oh man, so and so got this. Why ain't I going in? It's because at the end of the day, it's really not your time.
Right. No, I really think there's some valid truth to that because, my former career, all I wanted to be was get my doctorate's degree.
You want to hear it?
Get my doctorate's degree and become a nurse anesthetist, or I wanted to be a general of the Army Nurse Corps. That was like my goal, and I was all about that.
Wow.
Yeah, mofo. That's right.
And now
that's
you're not.
right. And now I'm not.
Yeah, life happens.
Life
And I felt like it was like a true act of God that, I literally had to get hit with fire and water in order to reevaluate my entire life and figure out what I wanted. Yeah. And looking back, it's like, I actually did a movie when I was on active duty with Michelle Monaghan.
Wow.
Yeah. It was my very first project. Because we were very close with the PAO officer of the post. So I got an audition to do a part in the film, and I was the only person on active duty who got that. And
that's awesome.
It wasn't even like something that was like, oh, I want to do this. Like I didn't do theater growing up. Like it was very frowned upon. We were that family, science degrees is it. And
you went into the military.
Yeah, I'm so stereotypical.
And you became a nurse, right?
Yeah, for real, guys. At least you didn't
I
had no idea.
At least it wasn't the Navy, because then they would have been
you're right.
Total stereotype right there.
Yeah. But looking back, I'd done all these other things with just friends and kind of like playing around as like children, making movies, acting, making commercials, and then. And then I was in the military for a long time, did the movie while I was in the military, got out, and I was like, what do I do now? I can't even walk, I'm trying to figure this out. And I was like, well, let's just check it out. And so my very first audition, national commercial. You're right. When it's the right time.
When it's the right time.
And you're in the right place, things will go your way.
And that's why, and that's the reason why people say it. It's because it is true. Yeah. It is true. You just never know.
Yeah.
And for you, are you represented by anyone, and how difficult was it to get representation for your for acting or a film?
For the most part of my career, I've always had representation. So I didn't get to experience the not representation. So I jumped from agencies to agencies because agents would leave for other agencies. So I would always just follow who I, geared towards more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Would you what advice?
But I'm sure I could definitely feel everybody else's like, I don't have an agent, so I can't really get out for pilot season,
So what advice would you give people or actors or film people, especially Filipino-Americans or Asian Americans, that what kind of advice would you give them about agents or management?
It's really what the agents and managers are really looking for is content. If you're creating your own content, right? If you're posting it online on YouTube, that's something that they can actually watch and be like, all right, I want to represent them. Mm-hmm. If you're taking good headshots, of course, nowadays people want more than a headshot. They want video reels. So at the end of the day, if you're making little YouTube or Instagram videos, at least that's something, right?
Yeah.
So I would say write your own little 1-minute skit, post it on Instagram, get some followers off of that, and have some viewers, and then start reaching out to agents that you want people. You want the agents to represent you.
Cool. And then, how would you say is when you personally, because it's kind of a two-way relationship. How did you gauge the agent? Like, if I'm sure you get approached all the time by these guys. Like, how do you gauge the guy or girl that's a good fit for me?
I take a lot of meetings, but like I'll reach out to them from when I didn't have an agent, which is like a month. Like, it sounds bad because a lot of people are like, a month? I've been without an agent for 5 years.
Your hustle is strong. Manny's hustle is strong.
You just reach out to them. And nowadays you have Facebook. So Facebook, and you have common mutual friends who maybe know that person. You have that person kind of back you up, or maybe throw in a good word for you and set up a meeting. I think you just got to be active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And speaking of active, like, how important do you think it is for not just Filipino-American filmmakers, but just Filipino-American supporters how important do you think it is for them to get active in like communities or organizations like Fil-Am Creative, or even the value of organizations like Fil-Am Creative in supporting the arts and supporting our fellow filmmakers and creative?
I think it's very important to get involved with Fil-Am Creative or people who support you or the community, the Filipino community, because at the end of the day, when you make it, you're representing all of us.
Amen to that.
And I think that's the difference. And I'm not going to try to just be one race and just be Filipino, but at the end of the day, I am Filipino. So when I do go out there, I represent the whole country as well as my family, you guys, my friends. It's not just, I'm not just going out there to represent myself.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think. Because when you're out there auditioning and you're trying to land that one part, you're representing your whole country. And that's the difference. I bring the whole country with me.
This is like the Olympics, guys. Wow. But you're right. You're right, though, because especially when I've lived all over. I lived all over the world, all over the States. I've predominantly lived in places that do not have Filipinos. I have been asked all these different like crazy questions that you can imagine living in a non-diverse area. And, when you see somebody, on screen, television, or movies, or whatever it is, and you find out that they're Filipino, and you meet people who are not used to Filipinos, it's that representation is so real, guys. It's so real.
So big. And when I don't know if you know who Darren Criss is. Darren Criss is Filipino.
Yeah.
And when
Versace.
Everybody finds out that Darren Criss or like Vanessa Hudgens is Filipino, and they're like, what? And for the Filipino community, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And they accept it as well. And, they embrace it. But it's huge for us because it's like, all right, we got one. Now, can you just make it a whole one?
Right.
What's funny, I love is when Darren Criss was on, he was on one of the late night talk shows, and he was straight representing. He was talking.
I know. I was so proud.
He was great.
And I was like, yeah, way to go represent, man. And I wasn't because he was asking like, yeah, anyone eat Filipino food? And I don't know if the audience were like, yeah, or there's like, I don't know.
And even with Vanessa Hudgens in the last television series that she was doing,
the superhero, like
NBC.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean it was even written in the script
that she was Filipino,
where she says, I'm half Filipino, and we're just like, oh my god, finally, like people are saying it out loud instead of guessing what we actually are, and not really knowing. So it's great.
But it's also hard for us to kind of. I guess watch TV because there's not that many representation of us, I guess.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to get your opinions on this. This happened to me in real life. I was at this big Asian American entertainment forum, right? And we were meeting with executives, and I met with a studio it was a TV studio executive, and I introduced myself, and Walter Bohos was with me. Well, shout out to Walter Bohos, our
to the two Walters,
board of director. And we were telling her about, hey, we're from Fil-Am Creative, blah blah blah. We'd love to this and that. And then the executive, who was also Asian American, she just looked at us, stone faced, and she was like, why do you have to have a separate Filipino organization? And I was like, we're like, I think Walter was taken aback by it just because he's like, he didn't expect a fellow Asian American not to understand that. And to me, I responded and told her like, hey, we have a unique, being Filipino-American, like no one really knows what we are. We're not Asian enough. We're not Hispanic enough. Hispanic. Yeah. So like people don't know how to cast us. And so it's kind of important to kind of give a recognition that we are our unique ethnic background or whatever. But I wanted to get your opinions on that, like individually, personally, like, is there a value in being Filipino-centric Fil-Am Creative, which we are. Fil-Am Creative for part. We'll take anyone. You don't have to be Filipino to be part of our organization.
Support diversity, guys.
We
That's
support
what we're
diversity
after.
in entertainment. But I'm like, but I personally don't think like, like we still work with the the other Asian American organizations.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important to me, if I was in that situation and I was with the Walters, I could already imagine both of your guys' faces and like Walter Boholz going totally into like attorney mode. I would think like, well, why not? I mean, and maybe it's because like I'm coming from this background of like military brat, and then I was in the Army as well, and kind of like living all over, where like you always know where all the Filipinos are at. And I also went to colleges where they had their Filipino student associations and things like that, and it's really like we're such a different culture. Like we have our own culture, right. And it's hard to, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with having a big overall Asian umbrella. Right. I think that's very important to have. But I don't think there's anything wrong to focus, on Filipino-Americans. And because our culture, even from Fil-Am's to the Philippines, that's very different. It's a very different mentality, too, in itself. Yeah. And then you have, like, the kind of like the crossovers of, like, caught in both, the Philippines and then here, and even like in LA, it's like so different compared to the rest of the country, right? And so I mean, I'm always a fan of, kind of teaching everybody what our culture brings to the table. And I mean, because I don't think everybody's into karaoke. I don't think everybody has a list at their house. Like,
why not?
I just bought a new Walis.
So and plus like the Philippines, like we're made up of like thousands of islands, and so I don't know. I just think it's super important to represent and show all different sides.
Just like have a niche
of the culture.
What do you think?
I think it's finding the common ground.
Yeah.
Being Filipino is the common ground, right? Because we all get it. Like we all get that our parents used to spank us with their chinelas.
And use a tabo. You're gross if you don't use a tabo.
We get it. Like I'm not saying that Chinese or Japanese won't get it, but at the end of the day, our common ground is being Filipino, being maybe second or third generation Filipino, grew up here in the States where our families came from the Philippines. So I think that's our common ground, and that's why we all need to support each other.
I mean, we alone generate the fog in Daly City.
Right. Because of all the cooking.
Yo, that's where Jollibee's at up in the Bay.
Because of all the cooking.
The real Filipinos get that joke. Speaking of going back to identity too, I just find this so funny. Like, tell us about what people thought you were, or like for the longest time I remember meeting you.
I mean, I still get it. Some people think that I'm either Hispanic, Mexican, white, even black.
I get that too. People think I'm half all the time.
Yeah,
it's so weird because I don't think I look half.
Yeah, I mean, and then when they meet me and they're Filipino, like I'll get like, Filipino moms and Filipino dads come, oh, you're Manny? I didn't know you're Filipino,
Really?
Do Hispanic people like get surprised like when they meet?
They're like, I thought you were I thought you were Mexican. I thought you were one of us. I'm like, bro, I am. I'm whatever you want me to be, bro.
Don't worry, the Spaniards got to both of us.
I was born in Japan too, bro.
Well, I've got to say thank you so much for representing all of us so well.
Thank you,
especially throughout the years, and we hope that you continue to spearhead that path for the rest of us. Coming up right behind you.
We're all coming together. It's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, you have been so inspirational, just for not just in radio but in film, just for your hustle and just for your support for us. I can't thank you enough for, again, being our first guest.
Anytime, guys.
And I mean, even just and your support with the Filipino-American community, and like, this has been a great conversation. I hope you guys watching this just really appreciate and got something out of it. Do you want to promote any social media accounts that you have?
Sure.
Where can we find you online?
Follow you.
It's all about branding, right? So follow me at Manny Streetz with a Z, MANNYSTREETZ. And that's everywhere. That's every social media handle. I just kept it straight, one thing.
And where can they see you, listen to you?
You can listen to me on the air with Ryan Seacrest, 102.7 KIIS-FM in Los Angeles, or on the iHeartRadio app. I'm also in Austin, Texas. If you guys are in Austin, Texas, on 102.3 The Beat.
Texas.
Yeah, on a hip hop station there. So, thank you guys for having me. And this was great.
Awesome. Thank you again. Again, this is Manny Streetz, film, TV, radio superstar.
One day I'll be in the Black Panther.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Walter Talens.
And I'm Arlyn de la Pena.
And this is Manny Streetz.
Peace.
And you're watching Voices.
Voices.
In my head.
Big thanks to all the cast and crew that made this episode possible. Charles Gray, producer, sound and cam op. Winston Fernando, producer and director of photography. Sarnika Lim, production coordinator. Ken Chan, cam op and DIT. Homer Dulu, BTS shots and camera op. Walter Talens, producer and host. Arlyn de la Pena, producer and host. Rodney Curudo, director and showrunner. Also, a big thank you to Fil-Am Creatives for allowing us this platform. Stay tuned next week for a new episode.